Thanks, everybody. We're moving on to the last session of our day, and I was struck by the earlier conversation in the mind versus machine session where Bob Gordon talked about it's very easy for us to look at the jobs that have been lost, but it's very difficult for us to envision the jobs that can be created by technology. And that's indeed one of the reasons why we established the Inclusive Innovation Challenge. We've just finished 2 weeks ago our award ceremony for year 2. We gave away more than $1 million to organizations who are effectively using technology to create jobs. So if we can't envision that future, we can at least use these few companies as examples of how it's being done. I'd like to invite Devin Cooke, the executive producer of the Inclusive Innovation Challenge, to come up and give you an update on our challenge and to talk about our regional plans for next year. Devin Cooke.
Thank you, David. So yes, I lead the Inclusive Innovation Challenge, and we launched this 2 years ago, and it's been a wild and exciting ride. I joined the IDE to launch the Inclusive Innovation Challenge right after graduating from Sloan. And I came to Sloan with a bit of a deep, dark secret, which probably set me apart from some of my classmates and probably many of you in the audience, which is I really didn't like technology that much. And this probably came as a surprise to a lot of my classmates. And just to give you a sense of what I enjoyed or found intrinsically cool, I spent a lot of summers growing up in rural Maine actually apprenticing with a hand loom weaver, which in retrospect kind of gives me more in common with the Luddites than it would with my classmates. So it was a sort of surprising place to find myself at MIT. But you'll notice that I'm still here. And the reason is that it is really impossible to be at MIT and not be completely inspired by the power of technology to really make the world a better place. It is built into the ethos of the school and our mission. And so that is why I stuck around. I did move to Maine after graduating, where I really was seeing firsthand the effects of many of the topics that we've discussed here over the last 2 days. And so when I was given the good fortunate the incident of this opportunity to launch the Inclusive Innovation Challenge, I really jumped at it. This is an opportunity to further the use of technology to make the world a better place. So I was tasked with really realizing Eric Brynjolfsson and Andy McAfee's vision, which was to create an initiative that would truly help us to reinvent the future of work so that we can create more shared prosperity in the digital age. How do we make sure that all this progress and prosperity that we're seeing emerge is shared more equally across society? And so that's what I came on to do. And we have had, like I said, an exciting 2 years of actually accomplishing this. Because ultimately, what we do is as David said, we award over $1 million in prizes to inclusive innovators. And these are entrepreneurs from around the world that are using technology to reinvent the future of work. So we launched this for a number of reasons. I mean, I said what our mission really is, but ultimately, the big purpose here is to celebrate and support these solutions that are making a huge difference for people around the world. And in order to actually accomplish this goal, we have scoured the globe to figure out what those really incredible solutions are. And so, as we heard a moment ago from David as well, just 3 weeks ago, we had our big celebration event where we brought our 16 winners in from around the world. They hail from Rwanda, Nigeria, St. Louis, Washington, D.C., India, and they all came here and converged in Boston to be celebrated. Because ultimately, we want to say these are these heroes of the new economy, and there's a reason that we should put our energy and focus on helping them to succeed. So I'd like to share a quick video with you to show you really what this is all about.
One of the things that's really exciting about the companies that are represented here is they're solving really exciting, cool, and innovative problems.
Tech is a huge part of work right now. We think about tech companies, but really in 2017, every company is a tech company.
Inclusive innovation to us means how can we use technology in a way that creates an impact.
Take new technology, take new applications, and make them broadly accessible and available. Take people who have often been on the margins and really begin to bring them back into the mainstream.
It gives people the opportunity to reskill, re-educate, and further opportunities to work. Definitely other organizations should be part of this. It's great exposure, and there's a great peer group here.
But I think more than anything, it's just an opportunity to celebrate, because the grind of a startup life is hard. And to take a moment and realize that we have achieved something remarkable that other people appreciate is meaningful to me, at least.
It's great to see other folks that you can learn from the issues that they're having in their markets, and also the best practices that have worked. So, entrepreneurship is kind of a lonely endeavor. You're out on your own, you're trying to convince folks to innovate who aren't used to innovating.
We were competing with people from across the world. I'm sure everyone's doing fantastic work, and to be able to get to this stage where we are being recognized amongst the very few participants who've made it this far, and I think it's very validating for the kind of work that we are doing.
What we plan to do with the money is literally scale our platform.
And we're going to be investing in marketing, local marketing in rural areas.
It's going to help us innovate. Any resources for a small company like ours are very important.
What I hope for tomorrow is that being part of this community will help us growing and having an even larger impact.
That gives you a sense of the scale of this event that we put on. We had over 600 people attend from the greater Boston area and beyond to really see and watch the success that these entrepreneurs are having. And we feel this is just the beginning of the impact that we can have on them, because ultimately, this is the #1 reason that we exist. It's to help these entrepreneurs to scale and grow. There's a second reason, which I will come back to at the end. But ultimately, here's what we've accomplished so far. We've, in the last 2 years, awarded over $2 million in prizes to these inclusive innovators. That's 40 of them total. We've had to work very passionately to actually build this as an initiative and a movement. And it's taken a village to make sure that we could recognize these entrepreneurs appropriately. Over 230 judges have helped us to review each and every application. We have had, like I said, many people attend our events, 2,000 at 3 different events in the past 2 years. We've had 1,400 organizations from around the world actually just register to learn more about what we're doing, which to me says that we can all be really excited in this room, that the optimism that we heard from the speakers on this stage is being reflected among entrepreneurs around the world. There's a lot of activity in this space to actually create solutions, which is fantastic. We've developed over 50 outreach and recruiting partners to help us spread the word. And we've also seen 50 countries represented in our applicant pool in the last 2 years. This is a widespread initiative, and we've had some incredible speakers join us for these conversations, just like we've seen in the past 2 days. So lots of different people and organizations have engaged with us on this. So as we think about this call to action that we just heard from the speakers in the last panel, this is our answer to that call at the IDE. This is really our flagship initiative into the way that we're getting the word out to actually support entrepreneurs with this global community, particularly one that's sort of housed and homed here at MIT. So this is our success so far, but what is exciting to me is the opportunity to actually share the work that these entrepreneurs are doing. I'm going to share a little bit with you about 4 of the winners, 2 from this year and 2 from last year, and some of the information that they've shared with us. There's many lessons that have come from their work. So to give you a sense of what these awards first look like, all these different entrepreneurs are receiving awards in one of 4 different categories. Because when we think about reinventing the future of work, which is what we want to see happen, it sounds a little abstract. I think at the end of the day, we're talking about preparation and acceleration. It's preparing the future workforce for the jobs of the future, and it's accelerating the creation of those jobs. And so if we drill down a little deeper, the 4 categories of awards that we've developed to represent this future are as follows. So skills development and opportunity matching, matching labor supply and demand more effectively. Heard a lot about that in the last 2 days. Second is income growth and job creation. And this is really about that acceleration of new job creation so that we can close that gap that's been growing. Financial inclusion as well is key and a growing term in the space to say how can we make sure that people are served with financial services and that we're bringing people who've historically been underbanked more into the digital economy. And lastly is technology access. We heard a lot from Rusty Justice today about the need for broadband access. And so this is what this category is all about. How do we make sure people even have the tools available to them to succeed in the digital economy and engage in the digital economy? So a couple of the companies that fall into these award categories are as follows. First, we have AdmitHub. So AdmitHub was one of our grand prize winners this year, actually in the technology access category. But what they do, so you see in the upper corner there, Andrew Magliozzi and Kirk Delario, the founders of this company, receiving their prize on stage from David, who you also probably recognize. And they are addressing a critical problem. Regardless of whether you think that people definitely need a college degree or they don't, they are helping the students to get the support they need to both get to college and get through college. And they're doing this at a massive scale, particularly by using AI chatbots on a mobile messaging platform. So they're addressing this challenge that every year in the US, 2.5 million students actually get into college, but 14% of them will not matriculate. And then 48% of them won't actually receive a degree in the 6 years. And that group is actually very strongly represented by underrepresented groups and underserved communities, which is a huge challenge. And it drives towards this issue of $4.5 billion in lost earnings and tax collection in the US every year. So this is an economic problem, but it's also an individual problem. So what they've done is they've created these AI chatbots. So here you meet Pounce, which is a branded mascot-based AI chatbot platform that students at Georgia State can text all of their questions to about the college admissions process, the financial aid process, et cetera. And AdmitHub has worked with 15 university partners so far on initiatives like this and has had a great deal of success doing so. To give you a sense of the kinds of questions you can ask, it's like, how do I send in my ACT scores? You can text back to understand how to actually send those test scores in. And you can do it at any time of day or night. This is someone that was answering questions at 1 a.m. But you also have these more difficult questions that students really need some support to get answered. And through this process, students get the support that they need, and universities also get more data to understand how they can better support students, all the while actually recouping more time to actually spend with students that really need that additional level of personal engagement. So you're freeing up the admissions team to actually support those students that need a little bit of extra love. And one of the great things that we've seen here is that not only has this been a success, it's been shown a success through some of the research they've done. So they did a randomized controlled trial with Georgia State, and it showed that they reduced their summer melt by 14%, and they also got more students actually through the program over time. So through the research, they've shown it really works. And students seem to really love it as well. So one student actually was on a local news program, and she told the newscaster, I love texting with Winston. This was Winston at Winston-Salem State. I love texting with Winston even more than my friends. So if we can use something like this to help teenagers interact with their parents, that would probably be good too. But it's certainly helping these students to get through college. So this was one of our winners in the technology access category, AdmitHub. Another organization that's doing work in the financial inclusion area is a company called Tala. So Tala was founded by Shivani Soroya, and they are a really fantastic organization that's currently operating in Tanzania, Kenya, and the Philippines. And so Shivani was working for the UN and at the time had been conducting research on how does microfinance actually help entrepreneurs in emerging economies. And through her work, she interviewed over 4,500 different people and entrepreneurs in emerging economies. And through that primary market research, albeit in a different role, she learned a very crucial fact that is a widespread challenge, which is 2.5 billion people around the world do not have a financial identity. They don't have a credit card, they don't have a bank account, and as a result, it's very difficult for them to access credit from a bank because banks have no reason to trust that they'll repay. Right? So this central challenge is what Shivani is addressing with Tala and doing it in an incredibly innovative way. What they do is they've created this Android app that you can see on the screen, which anyone in Tanzania, Kenya, or the Philippines can download from the Google Play Store. And once you've downloaded it, all you need to do is give the app a little bit of access to the data on your phone, and that allows them to collect over 10,000 data points to build a personal identity for you to enable you to get approved for a loan from Tala. And all in that process, from downloading the app to getting a loan approved, takes no more than 5 minutes. This is an incredible innovation that they've accomplished. So a quick example of this, one of the women that Shivani talks about in her TED Talk, actually, she's a TED fellow, so you can check that out. I'm here directly from her. But this is a woman named Jennifer who's 65. She works in a slum in Nairobi and has a food stall. She put her 3 sons through vocational school, but doesn't have really any disposable income. She's just saving enough to get by. So her son convinced her to download Tala's app, and what the app found was a couple of interesting data points as examples. So first, Jennifer regularly calls her family in Uganda, and there's a direct correlation between having a few close contacts that you're frequently in contact with and loan repayment. There's also a correlation between the size of your community and your support network for loan repayment. If you correspond with over 58 people on a regular basis, you're more likely to repay. Jennifer's phone told Tala that she corresponds with 89 people on a regular basis. And another one is that people that are more consistent in their travel patterns tend to repay their loans. And so for Jennifer, she was either at her food stall or at home. And sure enough, she was approved for a loan and was able to grow her business, had 2 more food stalls, increased her savings rate by 60%. So this is just one example of a story that is really powerful for organizations. And interestingly enough, Tala's loan repayment is 90%, which is right in line with banks and their loans. So doing incredible work using an innovation that already exists, but applying it in totally new ways. Third, an organization called 99 Custom. So they were one of our grand prize winners last year, actually the final big check to be handed out on stage. And they're founded by Brenna Schneider in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Anyone here from Lawrence? I bet people know where Lawrence is, though. It's about, so it's right outside Boston. And does anyone know 100 years ago, what was Lawrence's primary industry? Textile mills, absolutely. So this is a textile company that Brenna is basically re-onshoring apparel manufacture, but not the apparel manufacture of old. This is a future factory is what she's basically creating. And the way she's doing that is she's opened up this new kind of advanced manufacturing factory for textiles that include wearable devices, nanotechnologies. They use bonding and seaming instead of sewing machines, basically to create their fabrics. But in a little bit of symbolism, the mill where they work is actually the site of the 1912 Bread and Roses labor strike. So really starting to shift the dynamic and the narrative, to use Eric's term, around what a good opportunity and job looks like. Because as we heard from Rusty Justice today, this is an organization that's creating transferable skills for largely an immigrant population. So working with people in Immigrant City, which is what Lawrence is sometimes called, to actually provide them with new skills that can be transferred into the next job. Because ultimately, this is meant to not just be a dead-end job for people, but a way for them to take their skills to the next level. And one thing that we really love about 99 Degrees is that when they went back to the mill with their big check after winning it, everyone in the factory cheered. Because this is an organization that really believes in its mission, just like we do. Lastly, before I go on, here's some images of people in the mill. You can see people learning how to actually use this bonding, laser cutting machines, skills that are going to be transferable into other industries and jobs so they can be more successful. And our last organization is called Lead Genius. So Lead Genius was founded by these three gentlemen, Dave Rolinski, Prayag Narula, and Anant Kulkarni. And they were interested in that, unlike a lot of our other organizations, they are a for-profit company, but they were originally started entirely with a social mission. They're originally actually called Fair Trade Work, and have evolved that because really they've identified this reality that inclusive innovation is good for business, right? They've seen that they've identified a business need that they're able to use technology to address, but with a workforce that really needs a good paying job. So they are working with some people that can really take their skills to the next level through this opportunity. Basically what they do is address a key business need, which is to take the tedious aspects out of the sales role. They're doing lead generation for high growth sales teams. They are using data crawling and machine learning and natural language processing to actually collect and aggregate data for these sales teams. And then those sales teams can work with a customer success manager to scale, iterate on that information, and where this gets interesting is who these customer success managers actually are. And they are a team of people from around the world, 40 different countries represented. They've been recruited from slums, villages, cities, with the help of nonprofit organizations and government agencies, including the World Bank. So they're really working to find people that have a real need for better work and better jobs, and doing it with people that can really help. And so where this gets especially interesting is Lead Genius has actually created technology that takes these people who really don't have a lot of technical literacy and enables them to do a job that's really allowing them to earn a middle income or middle wage. Actually, and Willis, the guy in the upper left-hand corner, we spoke over Skype a while ago. He was recruited when he was selling carved wooden crafts in a slum in Kenya. So and now he actually has his own business doing something similar to what Lead Genius does. So taking people and helping them to really succeed. And over the extent of, or actually annually, Lead Genius pays out about $5 million to these customer success managers from around the world. So these are the kinds of organizations and entrepreneurs that we want to see more of with the Inclusive Innovation Challenge. And that is why next year, we are so excited to be going global. We're already a global organization in that we're identifying global entrepreneurs and supporting them. But what we're doing next year is to continue turning over every stone to find more of these amazing organizations. Because ultimately, our goal is to learn these lessons that can be applied in other larger organizations, through government, and to help hopefully activate other entrepreneurs who can do similar transformative work. Our plan is to run challenges and celebration events in all the regions around the world. We'll identify 12 regional winners in each of those total of those four categories that I mentioned earlier. And then we'll have the top winners come to Boston for a global grand prize celebration. So this is something we are thrilled to be doing because it continues to scale the solutions, just like our provost, Marty Schmidt, was talking about. This is an opportunity to scale solutions and really address this call to action that we need. This is where we're going in 2018. We cannot do it alone. You don't have to take my word for it. If you heard from Eric Schmidt yesterday, he thinks this should be a global phenomenon, which I obviously was excited to hear. But we cannot do it alone, and we are very fortunate to be working with some amazing supporters and partners. Because if anything, I hope that the last 2 days have inspired all of you to continue either doing the work that you're doing or find more ways to support these new initiatives to make the future of work better. So I would like to give you an easy way to get engaged and to actually be part of this movement. We would love to have any and all of you engage with us as we scale the Inclusive Innovation Challenge into 2018. There are lots of ways to do this. Being a partner with us regionally as we expand, support our expansion along with some of these amazing foundation partners. Participating as one of those core judges would be phenomenal. We're continuing to need more and more smart, passionate people like all of you in the room. Joining us as an outreach partner to simply help us spread the word is immensely helpful. And of course, we'll be having lots of events throughout the year, next year, and here in Boston for that Global Grand Prize celebration about a year from now. So we'd love to just have you attend and be part of that experience to celebrate these incredible entrepreneurs with us. And as we continue to think about what comes next for the Inclusive Innovation Challenge, I mentioned that what we're doing it for two reasons and to achieve two different outcomes. And the first is to support these incredible entrepreneurs so that we can continue to see the solutions work better and help more people around the world find better work. But there's also been an underlying theme, I think, to the conversations in the last 2 days, which has been that there is growing concern around the way that technology is influencing all of our lives. An Axios poll came out just the other day showing that both Democrats and Republicans both feel 54% of us think that technology is likely going to take away more jobs in the next 10 years than it is going to create jobs. So even though usually we would want to see Republicans and Democrats agree on something, this is bad news. So we want to make sure that we're able to tell the world that technology is something that can be a powerful tool for change. Not everyone has the good fortune, as I did, to be inspired by the technology at MIT. So that's why we want to be telling the stories of these entrepreneurs to humanize the future of work and inspire action. That's really what this is all about for us. It's to be able to tell these incredible stories, like the one that you heard from Rusty, like some of the stories I told you about the entrepreneurs that we work with, to say there are solutions that are working today, and there are more solutions that can work tomorrow if we work toward this goal together. So our goal is to humanize the future of work and to reinvent it together. So I hope you'll join us, and I hope that you've enjoyed these last 2 days. Thank you.